Hi scholars, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in to get reading our book, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Get your listening ears on. Remember, if I ask you a question, listen to the question first, pause the video, think about your answer, and then share it with an adult. Let's get going, scholars. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Now let's move. So I'm gonna move so you can see the pages. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Okay, I'm going to stop reading right here for 1 second because Miss Strathman has her first question. So, scholars, I think we have met our first character in the book. Does anyone know what this first character's name is? I'll give you a hint. The name is right here in the title. It's the first word in the title. I'm gonna give you time to pause your video, think about your answer, and share with an adult who you think this character's name is. Scholars, this character's name is Alexander. He is in the beginning of our title. His name is Alexander. I wonder if Alexander will be our main character of the story. Let's keep reading to find out. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box. And Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I am going to be carsick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invincible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell that it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone in the ice cream part falls off of the cone and lands in Australia. He must really like Australia, scholars. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on top. Yum. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? Do you think it was Alexander's mother? I think so too. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Scholars, would you be upset if you were having a day like this? I think I would be a little sad too. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia. Uh-oh. His day doesn't seem to be getting any better, scholars. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. Poor Alexander. And while I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. No one even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes. But then the shoe man said, we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as I could be except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. Even in Australia. All right, scholars, so I have a few questions for you. Thank you so much for listening and paying attention to that story. This book is so fun to read. So, in the beginning of the story, we learned that this was the first character that we met, and his name was Alexander. Now, the more we read, the more I was thinking that Alexander might be our main character of the story. The reason why I think that is because we kept hearing Alexander's thoughts in the story. We also met a few more characters, but Alexander was the one that we were learning about all throughout the story. So, tell me if you think Alexander was the main character of the story, yes or no? Yes, I agree. Great job, scholars. So, now that we met Alexander and we know that he's the main character of the story, how do you think he was feeling in the story? Right, I think he was feeling sad and mad and frustrated. It seemed like things just kept going the other way and weren't making his day even better. Remember, if we need help answering the question, you can look back in the story. So if I can't figure out if Alexander is happy or sad, I can look at the pictures in the story. Here, I see that Alexander isn't smiling and he looks a little sad. That tells me that Alexander is feeling sad in this part of the story. If I scoot forward, I see that Alexander is holding his foot and screaming. That must mean that he is hurting right now and something happened to make him feel hurt. Great job, scholars. Thank you for paying attention. I'm going to post a brain break below so you can participate in that brain break. Thank you, scholars.